So hello you guys and welcome back. Okay, so it's been like a few days. I've thought about it a little bit every watched. I've let it settle, let it sink. Still not thinking about the fact it's the last time we're gonna watch a Walking Dead premiere because that's just depressing. So just before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for all the kind and loving words and the support. It's exciting. It's exciting that we're starting another season together, but it's bittersweet at the same time. So yeah, it's nice to have other people that are kind of in the same boat, in the same situation when it comes to this. As always, my Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, all the links to everything relevant is down below. Let's just go, because I have a lot of thoughts. Okay, so straight off the bat, the intro was fucking stellar, okay? So I think I said it in the reaction, but it was so weird how everything was so quiet. No one was talking, everyone was creeping around, tiptoeing through the walkers, and it was eerie, but in such a subtle way. Like, it wasn't like, well, I guess it kind of was old school horror, but it wasn't in your face spooky. It was just unnerving. No one was talking. Everyone was just kind of like making eye contact and hoping that everyone else knew what the eyes meant. So that was fun. Daryl just throwing two knives and hitting the target both times was an absolute... It was a ridiculous highlight, but I loved it. I thought it was just cool. He's the kind of character I've loved since day one. You guys know that I've always been super vocal about that. But he does little cool things like that every now and again, and I'm just like... And I guess it kind of segued. There was some moments throughout the whole episode that I felt did feel old, if you know what I mean, or like they were throwing it back to other things like the Sleep and Savers, but I think I said that in the reaction as well. But it worked and it was nice and it wasn't too in your face. It was a nice kind of segue into the whole, oh no, we're broke, we have no food, we're fucked moment. I don't get why Maggie wouldn't have just told them though to begin with, hey, like, the place I was at is kind of fucked, we can't use it, but there could be food if we like raid the place. Instead, she waited until they like walked through a minefield of walkers and then were on the brink of starvation before she was like, I might have a suggestion. Like, I know it wasn't a great idea and I know that it was dangerous, but at the same time, she really should have brought that up with them before all of this. And did she wait until this point in time to tell, like, what happened to her community? She hadn't told anyone up until now? The Maggie and Negan situation has everyone up in a heap. Everyone's feathers are ruffled. Everyone's in a bit of a tizzy. Now, I've said it before about Negan that I love his character. I always have. He's an interesting villain? Antagonist? I don't even know what to call him anymore. But there's a lot of people online that hate him, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. He did take away two of our favourite characters. He did have a whole backstory of just fuckery and the shit that he got up to. It's fair. But, like, he's interesting to watch. His character has had an insane progression. You can't deny that, whether you like him or not. He has changed... Up to this point, we thought he was trying to do good. We thought he was trying to like make things right. I think the whole where he said it to Maggie about Glenn, where he said, what was it he said? Something about like put me down like a dog, like Glenn. He said that specifically to piss her off. You know, like in the cell when he was begging her to kill him. I think it was that again. He's just sick of being alive. My man is like, you guys are just... He's part of the group, but he's like the one that nobody wants there, and everyone makes it obvious. Everyone's like, no one likes you, you know? And it's fair. The thing about it is, and I've said it before, we have watched him change. We've watched him do better. We've watched him look out and care for other people in the group. We've seen that, but Maggie, as a grieving widow, she completely reserves the right to hate him for forever. And if I was her, I would have killed him. I wouldn't have made an example of him. There's no fucking way I would have been like, oh yeah. And I know she wasn't chill with it in the beginning. But like, I wouldn't go on any trips with him. I would fucking murder him. And if anyone asked me, I'd be like, it was me, I did it. Hello. But yeah, there's a lot of people online saying that the Maggie and Negan situation needs to stop. And I'm like, it's not gonna until she kills him. And that whole long live the king moment where he just noped the fuck out of there. He weighed the options and decided, no, I'm not going to save you. It's nice to see a little bit of old Negan come through. Because technically he didn't do anything. He just didn't intervene. And by not doing anything, that's still actively doing something. So I think that was perfectly in character for Negan's character. But at the same time, I know that there's people arguing against you're going against all the progression that he's done, all of the how far he's come since he was when we met him. There's people saying that he should have saved her, that it would have been in his new character, or it would have been in his best interest to save her. But it's like, It's just some of the old Negan coming through again. Their whole back and forth is probably going to be a focal point, and rightfully so. Like I said, I would have just fucking killed him seasons ago if I was her. That whole scenario down in the tunnels as well. They gave their supplies to some random person down the back of the fucking group and just trusted that they would be there and that nothing would happen to them or whatever the fuck. Some decisions were made in this episode that I was like, guys, you lived to season 11 for a reason. You're allegedly smart. What the fuck's going on here? The whole interrogation scene as well, I think, was really well done and really well handled. I liked Princess. Every time I see her, I just like her even more than I do. She's the kind of character who she just keeps growing on you. I guess we learned that she's insanely perceptive, which is odd, because usually if you're such a big talker, you're not really someone who sits and silently observes. You're usually one or the other, but she's kind of like a mixture of both. She's a little motor mouth in the corner, talking non-stop, while also like soaking in everything that's going on around her. I found her shipping the two stormtroopers quite funny. I know that's not what they're called, but that's what I'm going to call them. I get that their tactics, and I think it was Eugene said it as well, that their tactics were similar to those in Alexandria, that they want to get to know them, they're trying to wear them down, they're trying to catch them off guard, they're trying to get them irritated and see how they respond, and if you wear someone down enough, eventually they'll just break and tell you whatever the fuck you want. It did kind of suck a little bit to see Eugene, like, kind of like with Negan and with Gabriel and stuff, he was someone completely different when he came into the show. So, like, to see him almost go back to being the weakest link in the chain. He was teetering on the edge there a little bit when they were all sitting around the table talking. It seemed like he was considering maybe telling them information. And I'm like, I don't know, I feel like Eugene, I feel like he'd know better than that. We got to see Yumiko find herself and her sister on that little wall of like lost and found people. I don't blame her. If that was me, I'd stay. If that was me, there's no way I would leave. I'd be like, right, I'm going to go back in here, raise a little fucking hell and see what's going on. I feel like there wasn't a lot of hype about this premiere though. I know that there's some people online trying to hype it up, but I don't know, it kind of feel like it came up out of nowhere and it was suddenly like, boom, I'm here. And it didn't feel as talked about as previous seasons, which is odd because it's the last season. You'd think this would be the one that everyone goes overboard on promoting. Maybe people feel like they don't have to promote it because it's the last one, but that kind of sucked a little bit. I feel like the hype wasn't the same as previous seasons, but I have to say it's one of my favourite premieres in a very long time. In seasons. I think it was the perfect mixture of like everything. Absolutely everything. So yeah, that's just some of my thoughts about the premiere. Like usual, there's probably stuff that I'm either not talking about or I'm forgetting to mention or whatever, but they're just things that stood out to me that I liked. I guess part of like the hype being kind of confused as well is the fact that there's fucking this premiere service where the episodes air a week earlier, so you've some people watching them a week earlier, you've some people watching them now. I know that my mentions are a mess with people being like, when are your videos going up? Like, what's the deal? They'll be going up at the same time as usual. I know that some of the episodes might be airing early, but my reactions, they won't be up until the day they air, officially. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Do you agree or disagree with any of that kind of stuff? Like usual, the links to everything is down below. The link to my Patreon also, where there's a whole bunch of reactions that I'm going to be starting soon. But for now, it's just the usual shows that I'm doing. There's ongoing reactions to The X-Files, American Horror Story, Riverdale, Shadowhunters, Daredevil, Lucifer, Teen Wolf, Doom Patrol. And there's also a bunch of movie reactions. I'm doing the MCU and the X-Men franchise. And when I finish them, I'll probably just move on to like other stuff. Well, I'll have to move on to other stuff. So yeah, if you're interested in that, the link is below. I'd really appreciate it if you could support. If not, that's totally fine. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon.